All right, here I am, a little bit late. I honestly was just like, should I go live today? Am I too tired? Am I not going to be able to handle it? Should I do something else instead, like clean my house, which desperately needs to happen apparently? Like, I have been really enjoying my week. Super busy all week long. Haven't had much time for much else. I've just been working and sleeping, but man, has it been great. Consistently 13-hour days, right? I usually work more than that, but I kind of like the balance I'm striking now with like working the day job, writing, doing a stream every right before I go to bed. Like, just really really love that. It's working out really well for me, and I hope I can maintain it in the future. I hope I can keep this up. I really do. And so far, I have. I made it through week one. I've streamed every day of the work week. I should have no problems maintaining it going forward. I don't foresee any future problems in that regard. My health is better. I mean, I wish I could work out more, but you know how it is. Like, again, I hope I can maintain what I've been doing now because it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun streaming for everyone and talking about everything. It's been great. But anyway, yeah, I have had a really interesting week, kind of watching things unfold when it comes to the Palworld situation, narratives being pushed forward, the Pokemon fan base backlash, and the conspiracies put forward by the Palworld community, our pals in the steampunk community, right? The Valve fanboys, those guys. It's been really interesting to kind of see like the denial of what's actually happening here. The insistence that Palworld is like one of the biggest things ever and it's going to be a major competitor to Pokemon, and they in no way plagiarized from this already established product, right? Like, they didn't do any of that, right? Like, it's totally gonna kill Pokemon, guys. This is totally having Game Freak shaking their boots, and this is totally gonna make the Pokemon games better. It's such a complete joke. It really is. Like, I don't believe for a second that anybody shilling for Palworld was at ever any point a Pokemon fan. Because, like, who in the world looks at Palworld and it's just like, that's what I wanted Pokemon to be. I wanted to load animals into guns and and like keep them as slaves and stuff like what? Like, what are you saying? It doesn't make any sense. Like, to me, like it feels like Pokemon has this weird demographic of people who refuse to admit the games were made for children and that they're not intended to be super dark or mature, and so they like spurg out at this idea that like, Pokemon, it should be dark and edgy, it needs to be a mature game for mature gamers, instead of like appreciating Pokemon for what it is, right? Like, because you keep seeing people throw this out there that like Pokemon needs to have more mature storylines, it needs to have real-time combat, it needs to be darker, right? Like, you keep seeing them throw that out there, and they completely neglect to really understand what Pokemon is, what makes it great, what makes it special, what makes it so appealing to people, right? Like, people really want Pokemon to throw everything out the window and become something it's not, purely to satisfy their own autism, right? It's pretty similar to what Square Enix says needs to be done with Final Fantasy, right? It's the exact same thing, right? Those guys are coming out and telling you, these executives telling you that like, we can't make turn-based RPGs, they won't sell. We can't make anything other than Final Fantasy, they won't sell. We can't make games on Nintendo hardware, they won't sell. Like, they keep telling us this, and what happens? They produce Final Fantasy 16, a game that's everything they say is going to be the future of the company and going to be like this huge major hit, and it's a complete bomb, right? Whenever I see like Mudahar or Mr. Beast or Arlo or the Act Man or Raging Golden Eagle, who is a pedophile, whenever I see any of these people coming out and saying that like, Pokemon hasn't evolved, it's been the same thing since the 90s. Like, my first thought is that, like, these guys haven't played a Pokemon game since the 90s. Mr. B straight up even says he was playing it on a Game Boy despite being too young. Like, maybe it was a Game Boy Advance, but, like, I don't believe Mr. Beast was playing an up-to-date Pokemon game on a Game Boy when he was a child, right? Like, I don't believe these people when they spurg out about the alleged lack of quality of modern Pokemon games. I don't believe them when they say that Game Freak is, like, behind the times. Because, like, what turn-based RPG series out there is outperforming Pokemon? Like, what franchise out there is outperforming Pokemon, period? Like, biggest brand in the world, hello. Like, in spite of your insistence that Pokemon has fallen off and that it's not good anymore and that Game Freak doesn't know what they're doing, the reality of the situation is that the games have, like, gotten more popular over time. Right? Pokemania was in the 90s, and it was a huge deal. Gen 1 sold, like, what was it? Like, 37 million copies. It was, like, a huge deal. Right? Huge. Like, one of the best titles in Game Boy, huge deal. And, like, there was a very pervasive narrative for a long time, like, after Gen 2, that, like, oh, the series is falling off. It's not evolving. It's not doing anything new. It's the same thing over and over again. In spite of the fact that wasn't true, right? I remember being impressed with, like, how much the series evolved after that point. I remember, being excited at Hoenn and seeing, like, the bright, vibrant environments and, like, the new Pokemon and just the locations and stuff like that. I remember, like, playing Pearl and being impressed with, like, the in-game clock and stuff like that. Being impressed that there were now male and female differences between male and female Pokemon. I remember, playing Black and White 2 and being blown away by that. Black and White 1, excuse me. I've never actually played Black and White 2. Like, I remember playing all these games and just being into all of them, right? My least favorite is probably, I have games I don't like in the series. Diamond and Pearl, X and Y. X and Y is my least favorite. But, like, the series has always been consistently good, right? Like, even when I replayed, like, Diamond and Pearl, the remix, and, like, kind of felt the same way I did the first time around, is that, like, yeah, the game is kind of not great, and, like, it's kind of disappointing in a lot of ways. It makes no sense. Like, I think the plot, like, just gets started in, like, after the 7th gym or something. Like, it's crazy, like, poorly paced. But, like, generally speaking, like, I really, really like Pokemon. Love Gen 7, love Gen 8, love Gen 9. Like, Gen 9 might be one of those generations that really kind of revitalizes the franchise. How many people do you acknowledge just how cool it is that you have, like, multiple different storylines going on at once, and that it builds up to, like, the greatest conclusion in Pokemon history, right? Like, how many people do you see acknowledge that? How many people do you see acknowledge that, like, Legends Arceus was a radical shift in direction for the franchise? How many people do you see acknowledge that there are a lot of great spin-off properties for Pokemon, even on the Nintendo Switch, right? You have Pokken, you have Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, you have new Pokemon Snap. Like, there have been so many good Pokemon games on Nintendo Switch, and yet you're going to listen to Mutahar, the worst half of the completionist expose drama, right? Carl Jobs did all the real work. Like, you have Mutahar coming out here saying that, like, Palworld, it's not plagiarizing Pokemon. Like, how many different ways can you draw a wolf, guys? And then meanwhile, you put, like, a real wolf up to, like, an image of, like, the Pokemon Lycanroc versus, like, the PAL version of it, and you can see that, like, the PAL thing is, like, a direct copy of the Pokemon, right? Like, meanwhile, you can, like, compare a Digimon, and you'll get something that looks radically different, right? Compare that to Garomon or whatever. That's what I posted. Like, it is a complete... The idea that, like, you would draw a cartoon fox and come up with, like, a similar thing to Pokemon is so laughably asinine to me. It makes absolutely no sense. But you're seeing people saying it while at the same time trying to tell you that, like, oh, Pokemon ripped off Dragon Quest because they have monsters too. It's so weird how they do this. They try like making these ridiculous leaps of logic, saying that, like, oh, Pokemon isn't all that original. Look at all these other Pokemon-esque games that were inspired by Pokemon, right? Like, Pokemon has a monopoly, in spite of the fact that Dragon Quest Monsters came out last month. Oh, but Nintendo fans reject everything that isn't Pokemon. I just reviewed Dragon Quest Monsters this week. That's what I've been playing lately. You know, like I gave it a negative review, but one of the things that I didn't complain about, one of the things that I did like were the monsters. You know, for a series that was a sub-series that was blatantly inspired by Pokemon, it did a really good job being its own thing and having unique creature designs. Right? You're always getting cool, new, interesting monsters in Dragon Quest, and that's one of the things I really, really enjoyed about it. Right? I did not play this game and think to myself, this looks an awful lot like Pokemon, because that wasn't true. You know, nobody calls Digimon a ripoff of Pokemon. Nobody called Yokai Watch a ripoff. You know, Yokai Watch has a nine-tailed fox, too. You know, compare that to Ninetales, and you have two completely different creatures. Meanwhile, you have, like, copy and pasted assets in Palworld. Like, you legit have, like, recolors in some cases. And yet you have a handful of, like, delusional, like, Xers. I don't know what to call these people. Like, you have delusional shills and bots trying to convince you that, like, oh, there's nothing to see here. This is perfectly ordinary. Like, it was inspired by Pokemon. It's not a ripoff. Like, it's not. It's so weird. Like, especially when they try to say the gameplay is completely original and unique. I wish this was a more something that was talked about more. That the game is just a ripoff of, like, Ark. Like, I don't know anything about Ark, but I've seen it before. And, like, I know enough, like, to say that, like, yeah, it's like Pokemon, like, they have Pokemon assets with, like, all this gameplay ripped from other games, right? You know, Fortnite and stuff like that. Like, there's no real originality in this, like, trash at all, right? There's no creativity. Like, compare something like Dragon Quest Builders, for example. You know, clearly influenced by Minecraft. What did it do? It gave it a Dragon Quest-ish flair, right? Where you're, like, fighting the Dark Lord, you're building castles, you're fighting monsters, right? Like, it's clearly Minecraft influenced, it's clearly the same genre, it's clearly inspired by it, but it manages to do its own unique thing, right? Like, I did not call Dragon Quest Builders a ripoff to Minecraft. In fact, I kind of prefer it, right? Like, you can look at, like, things that take influence from other things. You know, Pokemon took influence from Earthbound, its predecessor series, from Shin Megami Tensei, from, like, Dragon Quest, right? Like, you know, every Japanese RPG takes influences from Dragon Quest because it established the entire genre, right? Like, you can see that. You can see the influence there, but it's different from being an outright ripoff. You know, this is legit, like, Toby Fox tier shit, where you, like, do the same exact thing, but, like, make it slightly different so, like, hopefully nobody notices. Or hopefully that, like, your fanboys will rise to the occasion and defend you, right? Because it is pretty blatant. Hang on, I don't have my chat up. It's pretty blatant how similar the designs are. Like, they are the exact same characters, just, like, slightly adjusted to look slightly different. Right, like, they're at different angles. Like, Lapras is, like, bipedal or whatever. Like, it doesn't have a shell. Like, I saw, like, the Firefox thing is, like, Vulpix. Like, you can see, like, that little white crest it has on its chest. But then, like, the second half of it, the tail is, like, completely different. I think they redesigned, like, that little poof of hair on top of its head, too. So, like, I think most people wouldn't notice that it's, like, the same design, right? Like, it took me a while to realize it was supposed to be, like, it was ripped from Vulpix, right? Like, they do this thing where they rip a lot of assets. It's like they took one of those, like, Pokemon fusion generators online and just mashed, like, 3 or 4 different Pokemon together to get, like, the results they wanted. Or, like, sometimes just, like, recolored a Pokemon entirely, right? Like, it's crazy how blatant it is. They're all scared to chat. Yeah, they really are scared. Like, all they can do is just make passive-aggressive, like, Twitter posts or community posts. No. They have, like, they have their top-secret Discords where they're recording everything I do and trying to make what I'm talking about look ridiculous. But in reality, the Pokemon Company just addressed, like, the allegations. They said they're investigating. Now, what I think is going to happen, either the plagiarism is discovered and something is done about it, or the plagiarism, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, the game is out already, whatever. In that situation, like, Palworld will just fade away on its own, right? Like I don't think there's any winning for Palworld here, right? Like the entire thing, the entire hype cycle has been about like sticking it to Pokemon, sticking it to the man, sticking it to the big company. Like we don't care if it's like plagiarized, we don't care if the game isn't good. Like we just want to see Pokemon suffer, even though there's no Pokemon coming out this week, this year that we know of. There's no competition for it, but this is still somehow going to like kill Pokemon, and this isn't just the fans aren't just gonna buy the new Pokemon when it comes out, like whenever it comes out, right? Like no, Power World's gonna kill it all. It's somehow going to destroy the biggest brand on the planet somehow with its 8 million sales. Is it allegedly? $30. That's something you don't see people talk about. Is that like it's only selling for like $30, $25 since it's on sale. Like they don't talk about that because like it's technically discounted. It's being shoved everywhere. People are like jumping in on it because they think it's a steal or whatever. And I think it's a meme game, right? It's similar to what happened to Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever, where it has this very brief hype cycle. No. The game I wanted to compare this to was Hi-Fi Rush, right? Same exact thing, right? Allegedly, Hi-Fi Rush has 4 million sales. But if you actually look at the achievements, if you actually look at how many people played the game, like you'll see that like most people don't get past like the first 10 minutes, right? Like that is the audience you're cultivating with these kind of games. Right, like I mentioned when Hi-Fi Rush came out that like, wow, if this game was a Nintendo exclusive, nobody would care about it, right? Like I specifically said that, and I think the same is true for Palworld, right? Like imagine if it was like the same exact game, same developer, same everything. Like it was the same exact game, but it was on the Switch, right? What would happen? Everybody would call it bullshit because it was just like a copycat of it was just a copycat of Pokemon, and they would just ignore it, right? That's what happened with Temtem. Like, Temtem is available on Switch, but when have you heard any Switch owner talk about Temtem at all? Like, when have you heard any Pokemon fan talk about Temtem at all? Like, outside of that initial hype cycle, right, which only existed to try and talk down to Sword and Shield, like, the game isn't relevant at all, right? And Palworld, I think, is much the same way. As in, like, it is being promoted by people who are actively trying to ruin the Pokemon brand. Like that is the goal here. It isn't to sell Palworld. It isn't like some epic win for gamers. Like this is an attempt at like destabilizing one of Nintendo's biggest properties. Similar to what they did in the 2000s with Zelda and Mario, right? Because you can find a lot of like articles from back then about how Zelda was stale and boring and how Mario was played out and they weren't innovating enough. They need to have more involving stories to keep people interested. Like you saw that a lot in the 2000s, right? A lot of like anti-Japanese game sentiments. And I think this is the same kind of thing. Like it's interesting seeing like industry people like Jeff Keighley like celebrate this as a big massive win for gamers, a big massive win for independent gaming. But where were you for Cereza and the Lost Demon last year? Like, where were you for No More Heroes 3? Where were you for, like, Metroid Dread or like, any of these smaller Nintendo projects, Like, I don't see Jeff Keighley, like, talking about Nintendo at all, especially during the Game Awards season, right? This guy is legit propping up, like, shovelware, bootleg products that rip off Nintendo properties but never actually talking about Nintendo itself, right? Like, I can tell you that Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is the game that I think is considered the best out of the three that came out in the past, like, couple of years, the Diamond and Pearl remakes, Scarlet and Violet, and that. Pokemon Legends Arceus, that was not even nominated for Game of the Year at a Game of the in the Game Awards, right? It wasn't even considered. It wasn't even talked about. And I talked about like how ridiculous that was when it happened. It was way better than Elden Ring. It was my favorite game of 2022. I loved Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's probably one of my favorite Pokemon games ever now. Loved that game. Didn't get a mention. Never talked about it at all. Never talked about its innovations. Like, I don't even think most casual fans exist, right? Like, I know it exists, right? Like, we saw this, like, when the Palworld hype was at full swing. Like, Pokemon has never innovated like this before. Like, the spin-offs, like Legends Arceus? Like, have you played anything related to Pokemon outside of Gen 1? That's kind of the impression I get when I see people like deny that like, the designs are plagiarized, right? Like these people just have no idea what Pokemon is at all, and it gets really really evident when you just see how they act about this franchise and just how they treat it. Um, it's really interesting. I think PC gamers are really getting desperate. I really do. Like this to me reminds me a lot of what happened with Baldur's Gate 3, where they put out a game on Steam and they tried like gaslighting people like, "Oh, this is the biggest thing ever. It's one of the best games ever made." And some people went along with it, Steam fanboys mainly. But like the vast majority of gamers were just like, what what is this? Like it's broken. Like you have sex with a bear. Like it's stupid, right? But like yeah, they for a couple of months they propped it up as the greatest thing ever, and now that the year is over, it's been completely forgotten, right? I don't want to play with you anymore, says Andy as he tosses his gaming PC with Baldur's Gate 3 installed into the trash, right? Like that is the state of Baldur's Gate 3 right now. And the same thing is going to happen to Palworld. The same thing is going to happen to the game after Palworld and the game after that, right? Like I noticed this. I've been noticing this for a long time, but I do think this bears repeating. Like, when was the last time you saw a Nintendo game go viral like this? Right? Every time it's like some random game from some game that nobody knows. Meanwhile, like the same group of people like religiously attack every Pokemon release, every Zelda release, every Mario release, every Fire Emblem release. Literally everything Nintendo related. Splatoon got attacked, right? Like every time, like everybody tries to write off these Nintendo games as if they're not a big deal and they're not major releases. But like every time something like this comes around, this is like a major game changer. This is some big new IP from some upcoming studio that's gonna redefine video games. Like I'm seeing people like outright defending AI in this. Like, oh well, okay. Like I don't believe it was AI generated, considering like the state of AI right now. I think they just ripped a bunch of assets from Pokemon and like applied it into the game. Like I don't think the models were literally AI generated. But like you're seeing people like go back on their supposed values in order to defend this game, right? Like, oh, I don't care if this game is AI generated as long as the Pokemon company gets what's coming to them. I don't care that the game is broken and unfinished as long as the Pokemon company gets what's coming to them. I don't care that I don't actually play the game and I spend more time on Twitter talking about it and defending it from people who are talking about how terrible it is. Like, this is sticking it to Game Freak. And I think that is the very prevalent thing we've been seeing in the community over the past couple of days, is that Palworld is not popular. Hating Pokemon is. Like, that is the reason so many YouTubers are talking about it. That is why there's so much controversy around this game. Like, this is something that the developers intentionally leaned into, because you can see, like, the Pokemon comparisons in the marketing and how much they emphasize this and how much the shills are, like, emphasizing how this is way better than Pokemon, right? This was a blatant attempt by the devs to abuse like the negative feelings towards the Pokemon company to like put out like this derivative product. And because the gaming community are so ignorant, they're so hateful, they are so stupid, they gladly just gobbled up the derivative trash instead of like supporting actual games that that are actually well made and interesting. Something like Dragon Quest Monsters, something like Shin Megami Tensei 5. Something like that, right? Like you have better alternatives to Pokemon on Switch already. Like, why exactly do you have to turn to some early access PC game that just happens to have like knockoff Pokemon characters in it? Like just because it has assets ripped from Pokemon and because it's dark and edgy, like, come on, like, have some self-respect. Like, play something high quality, right? And that is something we've been seeing like very consistently with the PC gaming audience is that they're not playing games. They're more concerned with presenting this image of themselves as like these cool, sophisticated gamers that play everything that comes out. But in reality, like all they do is just like try and convince you their platform is superior. Like they don't actually play anything, and that gets more and more obvious with every time, every meme game that comes out. Like, no, I don't believe that Palworld is like the most fun you've ever had with a game in your life. I don't believe in the sales numbers. I don't believe the Steam charts. I've talked about this. It does kind of feel like the Steam charts are like easier to fake than the Xbox or PlayStation ones because like Steam doesn't really have exclusive titles. So like on Xbox and PlayStation, it's always going to be like some the big third party games or Grand Theft Auto or something. Like with Steam, I think it's easier to fake. Like oh, you can just get a bunch of bots and have them spam like the player count poll, like oh look how many people are playing the game, but really it's just a bunch of bots. Like there's no way that the game has like sold 8 million units on Steam, but has like consistently managed to have like 2 million players over the past couple of days. That makes no sense. Like statistically, that makes no sense. Like, what are you guys doing? Just sitting in a room all day playing the game? You're not taking a break. You're not going to work. You're not doing something else. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The game just isn't. The game just clearly isn't that popular, right? There's not even that much talk about it online, other than people like pointing out the plagiarism and people trying to like lash out against it. Like, what is the game actually about? And to me, it couldn't be more obvious. I do think the most important thing is the plagiarism, like very blatant plagiarism, right? It's gotten to the point where like people spam like images of the shills, the bots, spam images of like pals on message boards and stuff like that, and it's a pal because they're doing this like everywhere, but you look at it and you realize that like oh wow that's a Pokemon, that's Esper, that's that's superior. That's some Pokemon that I know. And then you see people like in denial about like what Palworld is doing. That's the funniest thing about this is just like how desperately the community wants to pretend that Palworld is simultaneously like doing what Pokemon does better while not being anything like it at all. Right? Like it's so hilarious seeing them try to say the designs aren't plagiarized, but like, oh look, it's just like Pokemon. The Dragon Quest image that people spam everywhere. Like, oh look at all the designs that Pokemon ripped off. They don't look anything alike, like at all. Like especially compared to Pals. Like I don't know why they think this is gonna work. Like I don't know who they think who they're gonna trick with this. The Vouch clip? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll look at the Vouch clip. I haven't seen it yet. Somebody posted it. I did see it. Let's see. Vouch. Raging Golden Eagle blocked me. Yeah, what a bitch. I mean, to be fair, I'm like calling him names and stuff like that on stream. I would. I'm not mad he blocked me. I don't know. Hopefully, I can stop talking about him soon because I'm kind of sick of like mentioning him as the default of like just anime weeboobs. I can't say. Wait, is he in the politics board? Where is he? DBDR. I thought I saw it on my. Where is it? I thought I saw it on my Discord. Well, I guess we could find it. Let's see. Vouch. I don't know what it is, but Vouch has like the weirdest like based. Where the hell is it? I swear I. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I swear I saw it somewhere. Okay, yeah, this is it. Thank you. Vouch. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, Vouch has like the most base takes on games ever. Like he completely wrecked that retard, the synthetic man. Like fuck that guy, by the way. Like Okay, now that Raging Golden Eagle has like officially blocked me on Twitter, can like I officially say that like the anti-woke community is retarded? Like all of them? You know, Ricada Law, Yellow Flash, uh, Synthetic Man, yeah, I don't watch enough anti-woke YouTubers to name them all off the top of my head. But yeah, all of them are terrible, okay? Like, I don't care if some Hollywood production is woke. You know why? Because I expect it. You know what I do when I see a product I don't like? You know what I do when they ruin my favorite series or do something I don't approve of? I don't watch the product. I don't sit there and whine about how Hollywood is ruining all my favorite things because, my favorite things already still exist. Like, who cares? I grew up with these terrible Harry Potter adaptions. Not even like the new ones. Like, I'm talking about like the adaptions of the book. I hated them because of how unfaithful they were. Like, nobody else cares. Everyone else thinks the movies are great. I hate them. They're garbage. Like, all I have to do is not watch the movies. All I have to do. It's not a big deal at all. Like, I am so sick of, like, these idiot people just, like, spurging out. Like, oh, did you hear what Kathleen Kennedy did today? No. I don't care. Because she's not the only problem at Disney. You could get rid of Kathleen Kennedy today, and, like, you wouldn't be able to salvage Star Wars. You wouldn't be able to salvage the animated canon. You wouldn't be able to salvage anything because the problem is with the entire company. It's with the entire corporation. It's with the entire industry, right? It has nothing. It's a problem that won't be fixed by addressing woke ideology, right? Like, just acknowledge that the films are never going to be good again and move on with your life. Read a book. Read one of my books, okay? Like, read something from someone who actually cares about delivering a good product. But anyway, yeah, let's watch the Vouch clip. Sorry about that for those of you who... Oh, hang on, let's look at the chat real quick. Toby Fox made plagiarism hip and cool. Yeah, that's something I noticed is that, like, Toby Fox has never had like any of the companies he plagiarized from like address him the way that the Pokemon company did for Palworld just now. So I'm optimistic this might lead to like actual action being taken against Palworld. I don't know what that would look like. Like I was under the impression that Palworld was not a Japanese company initially, but apparently they are. So if they're in the same country, it should be fairly easy to do. They don't have to worry about international law or anything. So, like, we'll see what happens if they get any results on that. But, okay. But, yeah, like, Toby Fox got away with it, and that annoys me so badly. Like, again, the community, like, I think the issue is that, like, the Pokemon community actually came out and, like, addressed the plagiarism. With, like, Toby Fox, like, people were in denial about it for a long time. Right? Like, even now, you won't see people, like, treat it like it's a big deal. But, like, the Pokemon community has done more for gaming than, like, everybody else has done, like, in the longest time. Like, the Pokemon company has really, the Pokemon community has really risen up pretty well against this, I think. I hope this is the beginning of the end of, like, the YouTube hate train for Pokemon, by the way. I hope this kills their credibility because they're just done. If Palworld is going to die, why talk about it? Because I think that this isn't about Palworld, right? This is about how the online gaming community constantly pretends that Pokemon is on the verge of, like, going under. How, like, they're alienating all their fans and nobody likes them anymore and that their games are bad. Like you've been seeing this for a long time. And to me, like, Palworld is just, like, the newest example of that. Like, this is the same exact thing that happened with Temtem. Nothing is different. This is the same exact thing that happened with Yokai Watch. Nothing is different, right? Like, they always do this thing where they look at, like, anything that looks remotely similar to Pokemon and, like, declare it to be far superior. right? Like this happens all the time. This is nothing new. Okay, let's see. All this talk of Palworld being great, not a word about story, not a word about how many pals there are. No one talks about the game. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, is that like nobody talks about the game at all, right? Like it's all just some vague like, oh, I stayed up all night playing this game because it's so good. Like, okay, like I did that with Dragon Quest Monsters, and in the end, I gave it a negative review. That doesn't mean anything. Like, oh, I played a brand new game. Yeah, I've done that dozens of times. Okay, like something spectacular. This is why Xenoblade 3 and SMT 5 are so based. They show the path of the true neutral. Yeah, I'm not sure about like SMT 5, but I think in general, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the most base game I've ever played. I don't know why that's not like more commonly understood in the community. Probably because like dipshits like RGE, Raging Golden Eagle, like keep pretending that like, oh, the game is censored despite never actually playing it. Yeah, the game is undeniably based. I think SMT5 is way better than people give it credit for, but I really have to like play it for sure. These anti-woke YouTubers don't realize that they're keeping these trash companies relevant by constantly talking about them. Yes. Yes, I agree. Like it's a big reason why I didn't like spend all week talking about Palworld, right? In a lot of ways, like I wanted to get my facts together, like have a pretty concise understanding of the situation, and like do one concise video like dismissing the game, right? Right? Talking about Palworld like constantly would not have been productive for me. It wouldn't have been productive for the community. It wouldn't have been productive for anything. But like the way that like outrage YouTubers do it, like all the time, just like spurging out about like Madam Web or whatever. Like it's frustrating. It got tiresome a long time ago. I think I saw a really good Kotaku in Action thread like about this, but like these guys are always spelling gloom and doom for these major properties, but like nothing ever really comes of it. Like every single time they say that like, oh, wokeness is gonna kill Marvel, and it just doesn't happen. Like honestly, like I was kind of shocked. I watched like, was it this holiday season or when was this? It was a while ago. Yeah, I subbed to like HBO Max for a while, and I ended up watching some of these like Batman animated movies, and I ended up watching like the Doom That Came to Gotham, right, which is Kino, by the way. And I was kind of surprised because you always hear these people say that like, oh, all these comics are woke now, they're all bad, like, none of them are good. But I read this, I saw this like this movie which was based on a comic, and yeah, it seemed actually pretty awesome. Like I really enjoyed what I saw. Like I thought it was pretty cool. Like I would watch it again. Right? I really liked how they actually took risks with the characters and like had the setting and stuff like that. Like I thought that was really cool and interesting. Like I didn't see that as woke at all, right? Like again, like you're constantly seeing these people like cry about wokeness when it's not there. Honestly, like it's ridiculous. You're seeing people do that with like Pokemon too, like Scarlet and Violet. One of the narratives like going into it was that like, oh, the female characters won't be attractive anymore, and meanwhile, like, they're all great. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense. Like it was just like it was just such a weird thing to fixate on. That like, oh, there's no cool material in this Pokemon game. Like, come on, bro. Like, who cares? Like, I don't know. In general, I'm like completely done with this idea that we should advocate for like sexualizing media properties. Like, after seeing like what happened to Nick Rekieta and like everything with that, like I'm just like completely like no, like that is not necessary. That's not what we want. Like that's not a good thing. Let's see. All right, I think that's everything. All right, let's go ahead and watch some Bausch.
Okay, really quickly, I even saw people talking about it in chat beforehand. What the is going on with this Palworld game? what apparently
Okay,
it's
okay. So what's going on here is that it's being astroturfed, right? Like I've seen people on 4chan talk about this. I've seen people talk about this about Baldur's Gate 3 actually, right? A bunch of viral marketers, shills, are going onto message boards, onto X, onto like social media platforms, and just spamming Palworld, right? They're talking about how it's better than Pokemon, how it's outselling Pokemon, and how it's the greatest new IP ever. And like in reality, it's all like completely fake, right? It is a campaign. It's a marketing campaign, and I don't think casuals have caught on to the fact that this is a thing that happens yet. Because I've seen this happen with Cyberpunk 2077 and Edge Runners and No Man's Sky and like the updates. It's been a thing for a while now where they pretend that like certain games are way more popular than they actually are. But yeah, this is a particularly blatant example of it. Like the thing that confuses me is that like is Pocket Pair like really a small company? Because I don't understand where the money for these kind of things come from, right? Like Baldur's Gate 3 as well. Like with Baldur's Gate 3, people were speculating like the Chinese were behind it. And I don't know. Like Palworld seems like it's a very Chinese product. So I was wondering if like the company is Chinese owned but just based in Japan or what have you. Like I don't know what the situation is, but we'll see.
like the most played game in the universe now or something. What's going on? Why? I saw a few descriptors of it.
Yeah, can we stop pretending that like most played game on Steam means anything? Like Steam's a fringe platform. Nobody cares. Like compare it to like most played game on iOS. Like nobody cares, okay? Like who's playing what on Steam? Nobody cares what the best-selling game on Steam is that week, especially since it's always going to be the big new game that came out that week. Like who cares? Like again, I don't want to hear about bestsellers or most played games like ever. Okay, like tell me about the actual game, and that is something that no shill for Palworld has ever actually done. No shill has ever convinced me this is an interesting product that would be well worth my time to check out. Like I have never been tempted to check out Palworld.
That immediately set off my slop alarm. The slop alarm went off.
He legit has a slop alarm. Oh, that's based. Like I don't know. Like I don't know, man. Like I know Vaush is like a commie. I don't know what is he, a socialist? I don't know what he is. Yeah, I know what he is. He's a something. Yeah, I know Vaush is like politically different than me, but like I said, like his gaming takes are actually pretty based.
Palworld, the latest open world survival crafting game. Open world survival crafting game for up to 32 players. And it's all like Pokemon. Like everything just looks exactly like Pokemon. It's a version of Arc that works.
Yeah, that's the thing. Again, I emphasize this a lot too. Like I've been talking about this a lot. Like you can tell the difference between Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Digimon, right? Two '90s properties that came out around the same time and had a lot of overlap. Like nobody ever got like a Pokemon and a Digimon confused, right? Nobody ever got like a Yu-Gi-Oh monster confused with a Pokemon. You know why? Because they're all visually distinct. They all look different. They all have different art styles. They all have like a different focus. Digimon likes looking like crazy and exaggerated, and then Pokemon is like stuff you would actually find in nature, and then Yu-Gi-Oh is just all over the place. Like they all have their different like things to them, right? That makes them stick out from each other. They're distinct, right? And when you look at Palworld, like you can tell by the aesthetic, by the design, by like the way they look, the way they act. Like this is Pokemon, right? Like it's a knockoff Pokemon product. It's imitating that style. Like it's a carbon copy of that style, and that's why so many people were making the comparisons to Pokemon because it was obviously a knockoff of it. Right? The reason we're talking about Pokemon specifically and not Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh is because these are Pokemon, right?
More Arc than Pokemon. Yeah, but Arc was itself a slop game. Is it good enough at being itself that it elevates itself out of being a slop game? No, I argue yes, not really no, seems so. Okay, gotcha. It's ran by a guy who uses generative AI, has a crypto company, and supports NFTs. Yeah, I saw that. Apparently, there's no evidence of AI having actually been used in the making of the game, which
Well, I mean, we don't know enough yet, right? The Pokemon Company hasn't done their full thorough investigation of it. Like, I always thought that was kind of contrived. Like, oh, let's blame AI for this. Like, no, like the issue is that like it was a carbon copy of Pokemon, right? Like people tried deflecting the issue, right? They did this with another aspect of it too. Yeah, the designs with the like the way they try and say that like, oh, Pokemon didn't invent animals, right? They're deflecting the actual issue, right? The issue isn't that it's AI. The issue is that it looks exactly like Pokemon, right? These are Pokemon, like they're blatantly Pokemon. They're obviously Pokemon.
makes sense because if you think about it, like AI art is a pretty goddamn recent thing, and this game has been being developed for years. Obviously, like it doesn't just come out in one day.
Yeah,
So,
I don't. Yeah, I don't believe the AI thing at all. I don't think they used AI for it. I think it was just ripped from Pokemon.
I don't know about that. That being said, it does set off the slop alarms for a person who heads the project being into AI, crypto, and NFTs. Dude,
Yeah,
look at-
like why aren't more people making fun of the NFT thing? Like, if anything else had like an NFT associated with it, like people would make fun of it, right? Like NFTs are like the thing that everyone on the internet made fun of like a year ago. like, like NFTs were the worst thing ever. So why can't we acknowledge that this guy supported NFTs and is therefore like objectively like low IQ? Like, can we not just admit, like, at the very least, admit that like supporting NFTs is dumb? Like, why can't we admit that? Like, why can't we address this? Like, why can't we like, acknowledge that this guy is has a shady background? Why can't we get started on the process through like to prove that the game has been plagiarized? Why do we have to do this thing where we're just like, oh, there's no evidence it happened? Like, what are you talking about? It's obvious, right? Like, it's gonna take time for the Pokemon Company to like file their lawsuit and like take this company out or whatever. I don't know what that would look like, but I'm not a lawyer. Like, okay. Here's what I'm waiting for like the legal assessment for this, right? I want Nick Rekieta to come out and say Palworld did nothing wrong. They did everything correct. That they're going to make $1 bazillion, and there's nothing the Pokemon Company can do about it. The reason I want him to do that is because Nick Rekieta is always wrong. And if he does it, the magic of the universe is going to like just take down Palworld immediately. Like this is going to get like completely destroyed. And if that happens in that hypothetical situation, like all of these YouTubers who bent over backwards trying to say this game was great, the Act Man, not Vouch, Mudahar, Vouch is base, excuse me. In this regard, the people who tried shilling this, people like the Act Man, Mudahar, damn, like it's so difficult to keep track of these people's names. Like all of these guys, Raging Golden Eagle. God damn, I hate the fact that I keep defaulting to Raging Golden Eagle just because I hate him so much. Like I can't like stop myself. Like I just remember the name and I'm just like, to be fair, like he did support Palworld. Like he did say it was better than every recent Pokemon game. Like he did endorse the whole like Pokemon didn't invent animals crap. Like he did do that. So I have a reason to be mad. But like at the same time, like yeah, we need to stop talking about RGE specifically. Like I need to stop doing that. Like it needs to stop. He's not relevant enough for me to like focus so much on him. But okay.
Look at how much the little monsters, or whatever they call them, whatever. Look at how much they look like Pokemon. It's actually insane. They have the art style down to a T. Funnily enough, they actually do a far better job translating the art style to 3D than any actual Pokemon game.
Wrong, but okay.
I guess it just shows how
Wrong.
incompetent Game Freak is.
Wrong. New Pokemon Snap looks way better than this. There are plenty of better Pokemon games looking this. Scarlet and Violet does look better than this. Like it doesn't have that like jarring Fortnite art style that like I don't know why people don't hate that more. Like, I don't understand why people say that looks good. Like,
the designs, it looks like a lot better and more natural with the lighting and the way they've decided to translate the design as opposed to that god awful like Arceus slop visual shit.
Arceus looked awesome. Like, come on, bro. Like, no, not based. I take back everything nice I ever said about you, Vaj.
From a lot of Pokemon, they just made a better game. I mean, I guess if the people want it, I don't know. Like, look at that. Like, this is literally a Pokemon. Look at
yeah,
this.
that's Garchomp. It's Garchomp with like electric stripings on it. It kind of looks like, yeah, a weird mix between Garchomp and Toxicroak and yeah, yeah, that is literally a Pokemon.
Some of the designs are very similar to existing Pokemon. Yeah, I've seen this. I wonder if they'll get in legal trouble. That'd be kind of funny.
100% they will. Like 100%. Like I can't wait for it to happen. Like the Pokemon Company has talked about it. Like they're investigating. I guess they need to see if like I don't know what they can do legally, what their options are. Cause like I don't know if they've ever had like this blatant plagiarism like gone out there so blatantly, right? Like I know they've had problems with fan projects and stuff like that, but yeah, this is like really blatant, and I just don't know, and it's so frustrating because like the community is saying that they're going to go out and like support Pocket Pair over Game Freak in this, which is like completely insane. I don't know why you would side with like the plagiarists over like the original holders. Like, wouldn't you want like Palworld hypothetically to like just have its own unique monster designs? Like, why are you so fixated on having the Pokemon in the game? Is it because you know that without them the game has no appeal? Is that it? Like, who are we kidding? That is it. Like, that is the reason why. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, oh, the 8 million of us are roaming the PAL region. Oh, I almost said Paldea. Oh, wow. Wow. Holy fucking shit. They named the game after the region in Scarlet and Violet. Paldea and Palworld. Holy fucking shit. Are you serious? They really did that. Like, not even the name is original? Like, the entire... No. That is crazy. I don't think anybody's noticed that. Like, I don't... No, that can't be a coincidence. No.
I don't really care about this, though. I just care about whether or not it's a slop game. Slop game.
Why does he not care about the plagiarism? Also not based. That's stupid. Okay. I'm not liking this as much as I like the Synthetic Man video, but...
And you've got... And crafting. This is literally the Dolphin, or whatever.
Yep.
I know this Pokemon. This is literally the Pokemon.
Yeah, like, you can identify the fucking Pokemon. You can... Like, that's how blatant it is.
Non-fan? Non-fan. Oh shit, we even have like the e-girl. Yeah, we even have like the e-girl enemy. Now, this is a little bit more sultry than anything that would come from a Pokemon game, I think. Too doll-like features. The eyes aren't big enough. This looks like too much of a Pokemon game. That is true. However, it is worth pointing out that Pokemon games are garbage and have been for a very long time. They're sloppily made. They're
nope,
ugly.
Not true. Completely wrong.
Boring, derivative, repetitive. So honestly, them and the IP and all of it. And if they're going to make, like, this game might be slop, but is it as much of slop as an actual licensed Pokemon game?
Okay, that is That is a complete L take. I take back everything I've ever said about Vouch. Fuck him. That was fucking stupid. Like really, Pokemon slop. Oh, it's repetitive. Yeah, because the game is fun, and you keep playing it over and over again because it's fun. Like I don't like. Are you gonna try and like? What's your favorite game, Faust? Like Call of Duty? Like all you do is go in online matches and shoot each other. Yeah, that's the game, Vouch. Like come on. Like oh man, all you do in GTA is steal cars. It's repetitive. Like come on, Vouch. That's nothing. Whenever I see people complain about like Pokemon being repetitive, I straight up laugh at them. You know, because that is a complete non-issue, right? No. Like, learn to love the game, Vouch, you piece of shit. Okay, I don't know. Does it get better later? Should we keep watching it? He gets more based? Oh. Oh, okay. Nothing but W tags. Okay, hang on. Let's check the chat. Uh, well said, Mr. Cody Lee. Yeah, thank you. So, Leigh Blade, NFTs win. I like was legit joking about like making them RSU ones, but like yeah, that was a joke. So Leigh Blade, I don't know. I really do need to think about merchandise. I have been thinking about it for a long time. Like I need a good artist. Like people are complaining about the book covers, and I've been trying to work on that. I've been trying to like get stuff on. Like the instant I get like a book cover that people are happy with, I will put it on shirts and stuff like that. But like yeah, I keep getting complaints about that, and I'm trying my best, but it's like yeah, I'm not happy with like any of the artists I've used. I just don't. I don't know. Like I was quoted like $500 to have an artist for American Evil, and I just like, I just went with AI instead. Like, why would I pay that for someone who might just use AI generation anyway? You know, like it just, I just felt like it was a waste of money. So I'm trying to get like higher quality art out there. I'm not against paying for it, but like, I'm just not satisfied with like the body of work I've been seeing from like, you know, the people I've been. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to do it. But yeah, I would like to see like book covers on shirts for sure. I think that's like perfectly viable for me at this stage. I just need like a good book cover. Let's see. Palworld looks like they hired that man for sure, for sure. As PPP would say, well, what for what? Okay, yeah, right down the line. Okay, we'll keep going with it then. Like if you're wrong, I'll hold it against you forever.
And the answer is probably not. I don't know if it could be. Slop, 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 slop. I also got a video up of actual gameplay footage. To Pal World. This. So you got a Pokemon with a Gatling gun. That's cool. It's a game I've been. So if I put. I don't know if I want to hear this guy's voice. Oh man,
Base.
crafting games sure are a riot, huh? There's nothing I love more than going through my inventory and selecting the build wooden square floor variant 3 floorboard horizontal and then clicking it down and then holding the click button on it as I use the materials to build it. I can't. Oh man, base level.
Yeah, like can we just admit these kind of crafting systems are played out? Like, can we just admit that it like got old a long time ago? Like Dragon Quest Builders like did a pretty good job like um, making it feel like organic. Like you actually felt accomplished when you got something new, and you could really use a lot of things in interesting ways. But like I don't really see that in like the vast majority of these games. Like I just don't feel it.
One, build a wooden chest. Oh man. I don't know, a lot of people like it, dog. Yeah, and a lot of people like heroin. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, just because the game sells a lot or is popular, like that doesn't necessarily make it good. You know, Call of Duty is a good example. Like, you know, people like it for what it is, but like it's not good. Like Pokemon is like objectively a way stronger Pokemon than Call of Duty, right? Stronger than GTA. Stronger than like anything I would say in the industry because of how well it's been able to like adapt to different mediums and how well it's been able to succeed in different genres and stuff like that, and how long it's managed to remain relevant, right? Like anybody who like says Pokemon is like slop, like Vaush here is delusional. That just isn't true.
Oh, you've got a hunger meter. Ooh. Pals without beds will get stressed. Oh, dude. Oh man, it's gonna be one of those games. Why are crafting survival games so prominent? It literally just ruins games for me. Because people are little piggies who want slop. People don't want to have their feelings or expectations challenged. They want to have the same game made over and over and over again with mild tweaks. They don't want to be like challenged in gameplay or narrative sense or whatever. They just want to.
Yeah, like it does kind of feel that way, doesn't it? Like all the games these people talk about, like look and play the exact same, right? Like when you look at like what I play, like it's kind of remarkable when you compare it to like what other YouTubers play. Like I go from like 13 Sentinels to Pokemon Legends Arceus to Grim Grimoire, two Vanillaware games. I go from like all over the place, right? Famicom Detective Club, another Code R. Like I would have bought like Under Night in Birth 2 like this week if it wasn't for the whole like Bridget thing. If it wasn't for like Arc System Works going full woke on that, like I would have been more than happy to play Arc System like Under Night in Birth. I loved the original, but like unfortunately they lost me as a customer. So yeah, I have like I love all sorts of different games, right? But like it's so weird seeing like everybody else and like, oh, I only play this. I only play From Slop. I only play like these survival crafting games. Like, where's the variety? Like, do you not like anything else? Like, it's so weird to me. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, oh man, it's cool when the numbers go up. The avatar looks like you. That's true. I do also have visible abs with my shirt off. Minecraft and its consequences. Well, Minecraft doesn't really compare because Minecraft doesn't expect you to do anything. You can just do whatever. But in this game, it's like, you all see what's going on here. Can you throw the poof? Can you throw the poof? Okay, you can. That's good. That's good. That's good.
I don't know. I'm not seeing any W takes here.
Man.
This video is too long and kind of boring.
It's so funny that Vosh switched to defending Minecraft after he played it again. Why are you guys talking about Minecraft? We're talking about this style of game right now. Don't you see? Can't you see?
well, here's the thing, Vaush. The reason nobody is talking about Palworld is because nobody talks about Palworld. They can't mention it at all in a conversation without insisting that it's like better than a different game, right? They have to compare it to something else and say it's better with no evidence at all. Like,
Bosch only wants one type of game to exist. I want more than one type of game to exist.
Speed the video up? Oh yeah, I can do that, can I? Playback speed 2 times. Yeah, this is way too fucking slow.
That's the problem. No items in queue? Oh my god, it's like Clash of Clans.
This is a godsend.
At least it looks like, I don't know, well put together, like presentationally. I don't like the little glitching that's going on with the blueprint preview here. Is this mid or bad? I don't know, I haven't played it. What did I say? TBH, if I see a UI that looks like a mobile game, I immediately uninstall. That is a very, very, very good, that's a very good instinct. One of the easiest ways you can determine whether or not a mobile game is slop too, I don't know what it is, but it's like, the law in China is that if you're going to make a shitty derivative gacha game, you have to make, like, the art style always has to be the same no matter what. There are like 50 million of those games that come out of China, and the worst of them, they all have the same, there's like some very specific, like way they style the game's art or presentation or even like advertising that you can immediately identify, and all you can tell it's Korean too, because all Korean games have weirdly beautiful men. I think it's a K-pop thing. I don't know. That's how I knew that Lies of P was made by a Korean studio, because I didn't realize the main character you play as was a boy until like 2 hours in. Thanks, Canoe. The creators used AI tools in the past.
I think it's a little bit too fast.
Seems to us that Palworld has been accused of plagiarizing Pokemon social media users negatively highlights creators' history of generated AI tools. But they both look like Cheshire and Alice from Wonderland. Are they both copycats then? Oh, the eyes and mouth are the exact same texture. What does this have to do with AI though? This is just like copying designs, not necessarily an AI thing.
Yeah, like it's copy design. Like, was the whole AI thing just a way to deflect? Because that's the way it's looking. Like everyone I see bring this up was like, "Oh, but the AI thing has been debunked." Yeah, okay, but that isn't the actual problem. Like,
Can H-bomb on this? True.
It's interesting seeing gameplay, though.
I'm not getting into this again. Is there, like, any gameplay in this gameplay? Oh, we're running around now. We're walloping. Okay, one thing that I'm noticing right off the bat is that there doesn't seem to be an actual combat system, and your character turns with the speed of a forklift. Like, I'm not seeing dodge rolling or whatever. It seems like you just, like... I mean, this is also like a person who's just started playing, but I feel like if there was a dodge roll, they would have used it. There is dodge rolling? Okay, maybe this guy's just bad. I don't know how much... Like,
he would have used it. We know it was like a guy. Don't use the they shit. No. Fuck you, Vouch.
You all know there's a dodge roll system? You haven't played this game, have you? What's wrong with you guys? This gay porn has way too many viewers. Some of you must be lying. It's just kind of funny.
Like, it reminds me of, like, those trailers people make of, like, Mario in an open field. Like, oh, Mario in an open field. Like, it kind of looks like that. Where, it looks kind of aesthetically pleasing, but as to what you do in the game, like, how does it suit the aesthetic? How does it suit the gameplay? Like, what do you actually do in the game, right? You know, like... Yeah. This is if Pokemon hired that man. Like, I haven't, like, seen enough gameplay to say that yet, but before this, but yeah, I think now that I've seen gameplay, this is if Pokemon hired that man. This is that kind of game, and it has that kind of audience, right? Like, again, they even like kind of do the same thing where like, oh, the Pokemon company could never make anything this good, but I mean, could they really not? Like, do you think making something like this is beyond their capability? Like, they don't make stuff like this because they don't want to. It has nothing to do with talent.
And that within like a few months, we're going to get 2 gigantic breakout unexpected titles, and one of them is the slop shit, and the other one is Lethal Company, which was made by a solo.
It's 100% slop, right? Like, Vouch is right. Like, it's like every other game like it on the market. Like, there's nothing special or unique about it, right? You can tell that just by looking at gameplay. Like, it's not, like, you don't need to spend, like, hours and hours studying gameplay footage to see that, right? Like, this is always going to be, like, the main problem with the game, right? Is that it's not fun, right? Plagiarism aside, right? Like, the core problem with the game is that it's just simply not very good. But you are seeing a lot of people, like, in denial about that. You're seeing a lot of people push back against that. Like, Eurogamer did a negative review. Oh, we got to go after Eurogamer. Donkey did a negative view, apparently. Oh, we got to go after Donkey. Like, again, it's really not... It's not just Pokemon fans that are being, like, attacked by these people, right? It's just anybody under the sun who dares criticize Palworld for any reason. Like, oh, don't you know it's the best-selling game on Steam right now? Until the next best-selling game on Steam comes out. Like, it's just like, come on, bro.
Below death. It really is like the ultimate which way Western man, This is just a way worse Valheim with a Pokemon gimmick stuck on top. Yeah, maybe like a gimmick element to it. Or like a shock value, having a gun and shooting a Pokemon or whatever. Valheim's pretty good, though. Valheim's good. I think Valheim is the argument that you can make a game that is good while also being like an open world craft survival, whatever, like that's the argument, It's a well-made argument.
Yeah, what's Valheim? I never heard of it. I might check it out. I don't know. I don't have time to play a lot of games now. But I don't know. Maybe if it's on Switch, I'll check it out.
You can catch people too. Yeah, I heard.
Right now, I'm looking at getting Hitman Blood Money, so that'll be interesting. I've been looking to getting a Hitman game on Nintendo consoles for years, so that'll be interesting.
You can enslave people in the game. Okay, wait. This is also something that makes me very suspicious.
Oh yeah.
Playing a game.
Just because Donkey spoke out about Palworld doesn't mean that I'm like giving him credibility or anything. Like, I'll still speak out about him in most instances, but like, again, this is just him being surprisingly based in this one instance. Yeah, much like Vouch here.
And the art style isn't consistent. That's a huge red flag about it being like a Unity asset flip. Notice how you have a very like toon shader style on the characters and the Pokemon and stuff. They're very bright and vibrant.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Hitman. I don't know anything about them, but I'm told they're like one of the best stealth games ever or something. Like, I don't like most stealth games I play. Like I love Metal Gear Solid, but like like all the good ones just don't seem to have much of a presence on Nintendo, right? Like Tenchu, uh, like everything. It just kind of feels like, yeah, they really need to. I don't know. Like we need more stealth games in general. I just don't feel like there's a lot of good ones. And Hitman is. I don't know. I've been really interested in playing it for a long time, so I'll be interested in seeing what I think about it.
There's not much in the way of texture or shading.
I do hate Splinter Cell though. Splinter Cell sucks.
But you almost have like a realistic ground. What that suggests to me is that they use like very basic or freely available tools to construct the world. Like, look, those trees over there just look like they're photorealistic tree. I mean, they don't look perfect or whatever, but that's the art style, right? It's Unreal assets, not Unity. Okay, Unreal, you get the point. But like, for there to be a deviation in the art style, this is one of the reasons why Breath of the Wild is pretty impressive on an artistic level, because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have so much in them, and the art style is very consistent all the way through. The Sky Islands, ground, underground, dungeon, wherever else, trees.
Okay, that's actually pretty based. Wow. Vaush actually acknowledged that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is gorgeous. You do not see enough people do that. Like, so many people love to tell you that, like, oh, it's running on underpowered hardware. These games are terrible, but, like, no, they're gorgeous. They're better looking than your favorite game. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't understand how, like, people thought that would work. Like, Zelda fans grew up on Wind Waker. Like, we like the aesthetic, right? We like the brighter visuals. We like that aspect of it, right? Like, you cannot handle uh any kind of variety in your color palette at all, right? Anything other than like brown is like just unacceptable to you. Because that's not realistic enough. Oh, color doesn't exist in the real world. Like, haven't you ever played Gears of War? Like, that's what every game should look like.
It's water. There's a very consistent art style there. Another game made by the company that made Palworld, by the way. No way, really? Oh yeah? All right. Man, I wonder what influences they called upon for this one. No kidding, huh? Oh my god. It even has the jingle? Wait, it wasn't playing the audio. Hold on. No kidding.
Yeah, I don't understand how like people can
Oh,
cheer
like,
this
yeah,
on.
even if they...
Like, it's an obviously plagiarized product. Like, whatever else you think of the game, like you can't get over that specific thing, and yet you have a lot of people who are in denial about this. It's so weird to me.
Yeah, oh, that's like copyright Zelda now. That like with the like final piano keys or whatever. They even do the very stylized wind, where you have like little zephyrs, like little dashes, like see the curved lines. Those are very Breath of the Wild too. Again, not the only game to have used them. Just like it's pretty clear what they were doing here. Honestly, I kind of respect it. It's so shameless. And then it was kind of get mad. Okay, Vosh, that's incredibly common. I know it's common, but like look at this all put together in like all thrown into a stew together. Like sort of in combination. They also made this AI art imposter. Okay, one thing at a time. Look at the font of the title they show, by the way. Does it do the... Oh, man. That's funny. Why are people expecting the Chinese to make anything original? Don't be unironically racist. There's plenty of good art that comes out of everywhere. The thing is, a lot of Chinese art is kept internal because unless they're trying to market to piggy Westerners like you, a lot of their shit stays kind of insular, Like, think about it. American culture literally rules the world, and China has 5 times the population of the US. Like, they've got to have some insane shit going on. But there's a barrier government, the whole thing. Wait, this is Japanese made? Oh, then you were being double racist. I didn't know that. You assumed that. What, because Genshin is Chinese? All right, not on me. I can't divinely intuit the ethnicity of the people who made the game. I can't. It's not a skill I have. I don't know. They're the one who assumed. I didn't assume. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. Genshin is Chinese? Yeah, Genshin's Chinese. Genshin's also a pretty big Breath of the Wild. Okay, I'm loath to defend Genshin because A, it's gacha, and B, it's pedo, and those two in tandem, like the double ultra to hell, like straight to hell, However, from what I've seen, Genshin's gameplay actually does seem to be like very distinct from Breath of the Wild and interesting and worthwhile on its own. If you could somehow remove the pedophilia and if you could perform surgery on Genshin Impact and remove...
It's nice to see someone like speak out against pedophiles, because like I'm so used to like Nick Rekieta or whoever like Raging Golden Evil like try to justify like lolicon and shit like that, like, oh, it's an instrumental part of Japanese culture, I think the last stream I saw from him ever, like he was talking about that. Like I was just I like just skip through it because like I can't listen to this guy, And it's crazy how you can just stop randomly at random points in the stream and just have him say some insane bullshit. And in this specific instance, I stop, I hit play, and then he just goes like, yeah, Lolicon is the normie filter. And I'm just like, yeah, so what he was talking about was like this idea that like if you don't accept Lolicon as a part of the anime community, like you're not a real anime fan. So it's a way of like gatekeeping normies out. Well, how effective has that been? Like RGE? Cuz like I thought you said earlier that like normies were ruining anime. So it's like which is it? Like I don't know. Fuck Raging Golden Eagle. I'm still mad.
Ooh, pedophilia and the gotcha. I feel like you could have a pretty good game, you know? That's funny. Well, I mean, it's all slop now. It's just slop forever. That's life, I guess, for all time. It's load-bearing pedophilia. You remove that, the whole thing collapses, yeah. The reason Palworld got popular is because it's a creature collector that plays more like a crafting survival than an RPG. I mean, yeah, just crafting survival games suck. Not all of them. Valheim is good. Valheim is good. Yeah, I'm not trying to be like... Keep in mind, slop games can be fun. You know? It's just, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Valheim also kind of ruined my tolerance. Like, Valheim is just so much better than so many other... Hold on. Stop with the cutaway shit. Valheim is just so much better than so many other games that are like it, you know? It's so good. You can get to making Fjord and no skill drain with a skull. You know, you can get both those if you want. It looks the same to me. Well, a critical element of Valheim is that it doesn't have any time gatekeeping or like gotcha components or anything like that. There's no time wasting in Valheim. If you want to build a base in Valheim, you can, but it's only because you want to, if that makes sense. Like, the only buildings you need to build in Valheim are the basic crafting, very basic crafting stuff, you know. But apart from that, like the rest of the house that you build is up to you, you know, for fun. It's like you can do it for. It's like Minecraft, right? Like in Minecraft, you can beat the game. Technically, in Minecraft, you can beat the game with nothing because it's a ridiculously like variable modular game. But like you know, you don't have to build the big projects in Minecraft. You can just build like crafting bench, and, you know, whatever, if it's smelter or furnace, and you're fine. Isn't the resource gathering part incredibly tedious and time consuming, also necessary progress? In Valheim, I say no because the resource gathering is the hook that drives you into more dangerous areas. You know, finding all the cool resources and like going into the dangerous forest and like the like swamp area and stuff. I don't think that's tedious at all. Like it baits you to go in there, and you do. And it's like really fun. It's not like oh man, gotta get the thing. Better spend like 6 hours like mining rocks or whatever. You know, you go in there, you do the thing. Iron is so tedious. Well, it's just very heavy, so it's difficult to bring with. You know. Did you Uncle Twisty? Okay, all right. Well, different experiences. That's fine. Grinding Wars multiplayer is a bit rough though. I just played single player because I'm a loser. So yeah. Is Angry Birds a slot game? No. But when I say slot game, I mean a game that's designed to like hook your time with homogeneous sludge and not challenge you in any way. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think that a large portion of your day to day, will be forgotten by tomorrow because a lot of it is boring and routine, and that's normal. That's totally normal. But I think that we should always seek to like do and think and find interesting things because those things are memorable and they mean more to us and we reflect in them and they can help us grow as people. And I think one of the things that makes people kind of like this is where the idea of like a man-child or like Arrested Development comes in, right? The idea of a person who gets so comfortable in their routine or somebody who like relies so heavily on their essentially like slot consumption that they stop growing or changing as a person. You know, I think you should avoid that. And I think that sometimes games facilitate that. Gotcha games, man. Jesus, World of Warcraft, that kind of shit. You know, can get that for a lot of people. So gotta be careful. Gotcha games should be outlawed. True. I believe you can apply it. I've not played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I feel like Palworld isn't really a slot game. I'm really sorry to be contrarian, considering I know basically nothing about the game. But while I was looking through this gameplay footage before starting stream, just to make sure that it had like, you know, gameplay footage, I saw there was a thing where it was like, this thing will be ready in 1 minute. And as soon as you see that in the game, you need to like launch your phone or mobile device or computer at a wall and run. Because as soon as you see arbitrary time gating as a game mechanic, that's like the biggest red flag imaginable. You know, you have to launch that shit out the window and run. I don't know how bad it gets, but you do not want to get like Clash of Clans tier shit. Was it here? It's an hour 15-minute long video. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't there. It was some other time. It's such a big warning sign. I don't know. Some people like it, but again, people like heroin. You know, liking something doesn't necessarily make it good. Even enjoying something, like having a good time with it, doesn't necessarily make it good. There are like greater considerations to take into account. I feel. Cal number 69 is the sex mon. Okay. Well, I mean, I must not be a furry because I don't find this design very appealing at all. In Palworld, the 69th deck entry is Lavender, a tall lizard-like pal with a carnal desire to mate. They eventually moved on from pals and humans. I'm not making this up. Okay, gotcha. A lot of women like this, you know.
Yeah, it's like a weird mix between Aerodactyl and like a Salazzle. Like, really.
It's kind of horse-like. How? I'm not making this up. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, wait. That thing breeds with humans? Wait, what?
It's kind of horse-like. How? Oh, dude. Oh, man. Oh, look how long it takes, too. What the? Look. You have to, like, sit there for the whole thing? Whatever. can, yeah. You don't have to do it yourself. Okay, but that's how they get you. Games that are always just like incrementally forcing you to do one level up of work to make. Oh, I could not. What game besides FromSoft do you think means a ton of games challenge the player? It's like a whole thing with games.
Okay. I don't know, man. I can't believe I've been streaming for almost an hour and a half, about an hour and 20 minutes, I suppose. Man, it's been cannot believe it's been that long. It feels like I just started. I mean, I'm about to pass out, so I don't know. I feel like I talked about everything I wanted to talk about today, but I don't know if there's anything else. We look at 4chan. Is anything going on? Uh 2.25 players in game. Does anyone believe this shit? That it's like that fucking popular? It doesn't make. Hmm. Like, that does not make any sense to me. That something like that would be significantly more popular than like everything else on Steam. That's kind of a red flag for me personally. Uh, Investigations have begun. Nothing will come of this. Even if they took the models, they succeeded in changing them enough to where they're different. Sorry, not sorry. They're not different though. That's part of the problem is that they're very transparently the same. Like, there's almost no chance of an actual case against them. Like, why are they so convinced that like nothing is gonna happen? Right? Like, at the very least, I think there'll be like an investigation. Like, at the very least, I don't know. Like, again, like they're so convinced that like they're untouchable, and I really don't think that's the case. Like, considering the designs, like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, yeah, a bunch of people. Oh, they only responded because a bunch of people messaged them. They're not actually going to do anything. That seems like a cope at this stage. Because, like, yeah, they would. Why would they release a statement at all? Like, it just feels like. Hmm. Like, they said they're investigating. Like, that has to mean something. DMCA is entirely different to drafting a legal challenge, and Nintendo will not want to go in half cocked. We know is as much as you can stop sending a word in now. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. I think, yeah, that was kind of my thinking too, is that they're preparing a legal case. That is kind of my thinking at this stage because I am 100% convinced those designs are plagiarized. I am convinced that they weaponize Pokemon to promote themselves. I am convinced that they're like that they're um, that they're parasites that need to be dealt with. Like, I do think the Pokemon Company should take action. Like, the question is like whether or not like they can actually do anything and what that's going to result in. Like, damages, is Palworld going to get taken down? Like, uh oh man, I think they are playing the long game and want to build a case to sue them for damages and shut that down permanently. With a cease and desist, they could just change the models and everything stays the same. Yeah. That's kind of my thinking too. Is that like it's gonna be a long time. Like, like this is. It might take a couple of years to go through the legal process, right? Like by that point, Palworld is gonna be completely irrelevant, right? Like imagine like 2 years from now, you're seeing the same people hyping up like Ballworld now. Like, oh, we always knew Palworld was plagiarized. We're always been big Pokemon fans. Like I do think like 2 years from now, like the Power World thing is gonna be completely forgotten, right? And unless like the legal case gets messy, and I don't know how that would work. Like I can't imagine that like any court would side with like a pocket pair like this. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Tier Ring Saga. Yeah, the Fire Emblem guy. I think. Yeah. It's already been proven by 3D modelers that they didn't steal shit, and Pokemon fanboys made it all up. Did they trace the design? Yes, obviously. Did they steal the model? Did they think this is some epic win? But like, oh, they didn't literally rip the model, they just traced it. Like, huh? Like, even assuming that's true, that is so ridiculously off base. Like, I don't understand who they think they're gonna fool with that. Like, that's just insane. Did they steal the model? No, not at all. And that's a proof. Oh, I can't get my voice high enough. And that's a proven fact. There's no legal precedent for tracing being plagiarism when it comes to 3D models, so they can't do shit about it. I legit, I want to see Power World like taken down. Like I want these fucking, I want these people to like cope and seethe about this because like the narrative from the beginning was that like the Pokemon fans were coming after Power World because they were jealous of its success. But the reality was they've been antagonizing us the entire time. Like who makes statements like this? Like it's insane. I am 3D model artist, and what they are saying here is impossible. If the models were the same, they would have to have the exact same number of vertices. The body of the POW is different, so that's not possible. Yeah, yeah. Trust like the Twitter user by Metal Greymon. Oh, it's been debunked. No, there's nothing to see here. There's no plagiarism in Power World. Nothing at all. Like, it's just a better Pokemon. Like, come on. Who believes this horse shit? Yeah, I get angrier the more I like read from these people. It's so antagonist. It's so infuriating. When Power World gets sued and dies, is there any chance that another game could take its place? Or are all others doomed to be seen as just a Power World rehash? Has the monster catching genre been doomed? The reason why Power World is getting the backlash is because the PAL designs are almost carbon copies of Pokemon. Yes, like again, I mentioned this. Like that I bought Dragon Quest monsters. You know, I've bought other games like Pokemon. I don't get angry at them because they're not copies of it. You know, like again, like the narrative has always been that like, oh, Pokemon fanboys like are upset, but no, we're upset for a good reason. Yeah, and they keep trying to like shill cassette beats too. Like what is that all about? Like, oh, cassette beats is good too. Like Fuck. I hate the CAPTCHA. I wish that, like, 4chan would let me get rid of the CAPTCHA because I cannot stand it. I just want to post my... Okay. Yeah, it's not even true when they're saying that, like, oh, it outsold Pokemon Legends Arceus in its first week. Like, no, we don't actually know what Legends Arceus did in its first week. We know it did 6.5 million in 3 days, and Palworld did 7 million in a week, but we don't know what Legends Arceus. They're just saying it is, like, right? They don't have any actual evidence. Hmm. They won't stop spamming V. Yep. There's like 25 threads that get filtered by just typing in Power World and more that intentionally type to bypass filter. Yep, it's bots and shills for sure. Yep. Yeah, it feels like people are starting to notice like that, like this is inorganic. It's not real. It's like bots and shills just spamming message boards, like astroturfing. Like we need this to be more understood, like because this keeps happening and it's getting really tiresome.
Hey, what's up, guys? We're up here. So today we're going to once again talk about Palworld, a game that...
Okay, like I hate clicking on a random YouTube link and seeing this like anime VTuber with a man's voice like spouting some nonsense all the time. This is one of the outrage YouTubers I was talking about. Like I keep seeing this guy, this man pop up. And like every time he's pushing some like ridiculous point, have been fuming about Power World's success, going so far as fabricating evidence of Power World stealing Pokemon assets. Really? This is what you're gonna do? Like they've been trying to do this for a while. Like, oh, we've debunked that claim. There are no stolen assets. Like, yeah. Okay, sure, bro. Sure. Yeah, for some reason, like the anti-woke community is going like really hard in on like Power World. They're really shilling for it. Like probably because they think it's gonna get them clicks. Honestly, like that's probably gonna be the big reason I disavow them going forward. Is just like this is like a situation I'm very passionate about, and seeing these like grifters try and like do their thing for something like this, it's despicable. It really is. Let's see. Yeah, they're getting so upset at like oof. You all don't understand the concept of Pokemon for sure. For sure. Yeah, you don't see anybody like talking about how Pokemon went open world with Scarlet and Violet, right? Because that was the big thing that everyone wanted. Oh, it just needs to be open world. Like they always say Pokemon needs to evolve. Okay, how? Like what do you want? Like They give some vague thing like, I want like reality is like nothing would make them happy. That's the reality. Okay. Although standard gameplay ideas are not copyrightable, Mina was still substantially similar to Tetris in terms of its art style, and those elements are in fact protected by copyright. This case has since been applied in other copyright disputes to offer broader protection to the look and feel of video games. Yeah, it's American law, but like, yeah, it's Japanese companies, so it's gonna be interesting seeing what happened. Like, I I can't imagine like Japanese courts siding with like Palworld over Pokemon. Cause like everyone knows what Pokemon is. Like obviously people are trying to ape off of it all the time. So I think I can't imagine them siding with Palworld. Yeah. By the way, when it comes to like the whole debunking the model thing, the debunking has been debunked, which is something they're conveniently not talking about. So yeah, like I think let's see. Yeah, I mean, the way things are looking now, it seems like the community is like catching wind of what's going on and are pushing back. Like I'm seeing a lot more pushback to Power World now than I was doing, seeing a couple of days now. Like I'm doing a stream now talking about it, so it feels like it's I don't know, the situation is escalating for sure. And like again, I think the big thing to take away from this, never trust YouTubers, right? Never trust the shills, because like these are the people who have been spending the past several years telling you Pokemon is bad, and then the instant this game comes out, like, oh, this is the best thing ever. It's not plagiarized at all. It's everything I wanted, and then like they fought to the death to deny that like the game is plagiarized, right? Like they're still doing it now. They still think the Pokemon company isn't going to do anything. And I just don't think that's realistic at this stage. I just don't. Yeah, like how much money can they stand to lose, right? Like, hmm. Yeah, your slop alarms for sure. Like, have a slop alarm, invest in a slop alarm. Yeah, like it feels like they really have no leg to stand on. Like everything they bring up, every narrative, every excuse, it all just gets blown the fuck out. And they keep trying to like just prance around the actual issues. Oh, that's been debunked. Oh, that's not true. Oh, the game is great. And it all feels like it's falling apart. Like every day, it feels like more and more people are starting to realize what's going on. And like, I just don't see this continuing for much longer. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think we should probably end the stream. It's it's pretty late. Uh, yeah, an hour and how long has it been? Yeah, I guess I should probably end the stream now. I wish I could keep going, but yeah, the battery is low. We talked about everything we needed to talk about today. I think we're good. Yeah, another code. Yeah, I might stream that tonight. We'll see. So yeah, I'll see you all later then. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next time. Thank you.